They are accounting for the fact that the mind can influence the body, that the mind can create real physiological change. Healing is not only about what is done to the body, it shows us how powerful we are. Hi, I am Niamh Devine. I am a mind-body mentor, and through my work, I help people understand what their body may be communicating beneath a physical symptom, and how to begin working with the mind and the body in a new way. And in this episode, I want to speak about one of the clearest examples of the mind-body connection already being accounted for in mainstream medicine: the placebo effect. Because when people first come across the idea that the mind can influence the body, they can be skeptical, naturally. But science already accounts for this. Medicine already accounts for this. Clinical trials already account for this. So maybe the question is not, is the mind-body connection real? Maybe the better question is, what is the placebo effect showing us about the power of the mind? When someone improves after receiving an inactive treatment because they believe it is real, we call that the placebo effect. And when someone develops symptoms or side effects because they expect something negative to happen, we call that the nocebo effect, which I will speak about in another episode. But today I want to focus on the placebo effect. So this is not a fringe idea. It is documented, it is studied, it is accounted for in clinical research. In clinical trials, researchers often have one group taking the real drug and another group taking a placebo, which is a dummy treatment like a sugar pill or saline injection. And this has no active medication in it. And yes, the placebo group is there as a control group. It allows researchers to compare the people taking the drug with the people who are not taking the drug, so they can measure the true effect of the medication. Makes sense? But even within that control group, they have to account for something very real: the placebo effect. Because they know that some people who receive the inactive treatment can still improve. Not because this pill has any active ingredient in it, but because the person believes they are being treated. They expect to get better, and so the body responds. So when researchers are testing a new drug, they have to separate the effect of the drug from the body's own healing response. A response that can be prompted by belief. Belief in the treatment, belief in the outcome, belief that healing is possible. And what I find fascinating is that the placebo effect is powerful enough that many new drugs have to prove they produce benefits beyond the placebo response. That's the measure. Think about that. The body's own healing response, driven by expectation and perception and hope, belief, is powerful enough that modern medicine has to account for it in clinical trials. So when we talk about the mind-body connection, we are not talking about something science has never seen before. We are talking about something science already accounts for. The placebo effect can trigger measurable biological, neurological, and chemical changes in the body. And there are so many examples of this in action. And so I'll point to a few if you are new to this concept. So, a powerful example is Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's is linked with low dopamine in the brain. And in studies, when people with Parkinson's believed they were receiving the true treatment, researchers found that some of them actually released dopamine. Think about that. The expectation of the result of the treatment created a measurable chemical change in the brain. Your mind believes this is going to work, and your body responds. One of the clearest examples is pain relief. So, studies have shown that when someone believes they are receiving pain relief, the body can activate its own pain relieving systems. So, this isn't just someone imagining they feel better. This is a real biological response happening in the body. And I personally love this because in my own work, I teach a technique that uses no medication at all. Yet I have seen it reduce pain and often alleviate pain entirely again and again. And I teach this inside my course, The Language of the Body. So instead of taking a pill, we are learning how to come into relationship with the body, how to meet sensation differently, how to change the meaning that we are giving to it, to the pain, how to create a different internal response. And I have seen pains that have bothered people for years, sometimes even decades, no longer be an issue. And this is all through the power of the mind, by the way. So another example is irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. Now, there was a study where people were given what is called an open label placebo. So this means they were actually told they were taking a placebo. They knew the pill had no active ingredient. And yet still, many of them improved. So again, we have to ask, what is the body responding to? It is not responding to the chemical ingredient in the pill because there is no active ingredient. So, what is active? Okay, we have the ritual, the expectation, the attention, the meaning, the possibility that something could change. And all of this is happening through the mind. The mind is interpreting the treatment. The mind is giving meaning to the pill. The mind is creating an expectation of healing. And the body is responding. And then there is sham surgery. So there was a well-known study on knee osteoarthritis where some people had the real surgery and others had a sham surgery. Now, they went through what looked and felt like surgery. So the setting was real, the incision was real, and the belief that they had received the procedure was real. But the actual surgical repair was not carried out. And the results showed that the real surgery, get this, was no better than the placebo surgery for pain and function. Think about that. The body responded to the belief that repair had happened. And this is what I keep coming back to. Like the placebo effect is not proof that the inactive treatment works. It is proof that the mind can create real physiological change in the body. The treatment may be inactive, but the mind is not. The mind leads, the body responds. And this is why I believe we need to look more directly at the power of the mind in healing. Because if modern medicine has to account for the placebo effect in clinical trials, then we have to ask, what exactly are they accounting for? They are accounting for the fact that the mind can influence the body. Now, science still does not fully understand exactly how the placebo effect works. The mechanisms are still being studied, but they know it happens. They know that a person can take an inactive treatment, believe it is real, and the body can respond. Like something shifts in their physiology. A real biological response takes place. And when I look at this, I do not see a strange medical anomaly. I see a doorway. Because around that placebo response, there is often an entire inner movement happening within that person. They have reached a point where they want something to change. They have gone looking for help. They are open to trying something new. They are willing to invest themselves in the possibility of healing. Their time, their energy, their hope, their body, and their belief. This new outcome becomes possible in their mind before it becomes possible in their body. And that is something I see again and again in my own work. The people who come to me with physical symptoms, pain, patterns in the body, or a reduced quality of life, the ones who tend to experience the most powerful shifts are the ones who fully commit to the process. They are very willing to look at things differently. They are willing to listen to the body in a new way. They are even willing to see how they might be contributing to the symptom. They are willing to change how they respond to the symptom. And they are willing to wholly participate. And that is the part that matters most, to wholly participate. Because healing cannot be forced from the outside. Right? Someone can recommend a practitioner, someone can hand you a book, someone can tell you what worked for them. But unless something inside of you says, I want this, I am ready, maybe even I'm ready to let this go, I'm ready for change, I am willing to meet myself in a new way, the work doesn't land in the same way. If that doesn't happen, that doesn't take place. So there has to be an internal yes, like this internal fire, a willingness to become involved in your own healing. So maybe the placebo effect is not something we should just brush past. Maybe this is exactly what we should be putting the spotlight on. Because for anyone who was on the fence about healing the body through the power of the mind, the placebo effect gives us something documented, something studied, something already recognized in science. The mind is far more involved in the body's healing response than many of us have been taught to believe or even took time to consider. And that is why this work and this conversation matters so deeply to me. Because I know what it is to be told there is nothing you can do. I know what it is to be handed a prognosis. I know what it is to feel powerless in your own body. And I also know what it is to discover through my own lived experience that the mind can be key to the healing process. And for those of you who are not familiar with my personal story, you can watch my TEDx talk, Listen to Your Body, where I share how I recovered from paralysis overnight after speaking to my brain. That experience changed the course of my life. And it's the reason I do the work I do today. And through my one-to-one work and inside the language of the body, my online course, I help people understand what their body may be communicating beneath a physical symptom and how to begin working with the mind and body in a new way to bring about real physiological and emotional shifts. So before you move on, just pause for a moment. Don't just ask what your mind thinks about all of this. Ask what your body felt as you listened. Did it resonate as truth? Did your body respond in any way? And if it did, trust that. That recognition could be the key. It was for me. So thank you so much for listening. If this moved something in you or sparked something in you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And if someone came to mind as you were listening, send this to them. It could be the missing piece, that little eureka moment that they have been waiting for, maybe even unknowingly. And if this feels like something you want to explore more deeply in your own body, I have left ways to work with me in the description. Again, I am Niamh Devine. Until next time, le gros.